So the season is officially over and we can all brace ourselves for a summer of international football and inflated transfer fees until it all begins again in August. We've seen Manchester City dominate while West Brom, Stoke City and Swansea City have all fallen through the trapdoor. We've seen the sublime from the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah, but we've also seen the not so sublime from players up and down the country. Here is our Premier League flops of the season 11. In goal is Joe Hart. Last season, Joe Hart had the benefit of being able to hide in Italy and out of the spotlight, but the Head and Shoulders enthusiast had no such luxury this time out at West Ham. The former England number one, because let's be honest, he's surely lost that tag, has been disappointing all season in a Hammers shirt, unable to shake off the ghost that has been haunting him since Pep Guardiola arrived at Manchester City. Hart hasn't even been able to hold down the number one spot at the London Stadium, as David Moyes' side lingered dangerously close to the relegation zone. Maybe I'm wrong from expecting more from Hart, but keeping net at City and West Ham are two very different propositions, but all Hart has done is prove he can do neither. God knows what next season holds for him, but he won't be under Pep's watchful eye. Centre back Victor Lindelof. Before we get into it with Big Vic, we're playing Antonio Conte's favourite 3-4-3 formation in a tribute to the surely departing Italian. But anyway, back to Lindelof, who arrived at Old Trafford last summer for €35 million, and it's fair to say that big things were expected of the Swedish centre-half. Well, it's almost a year on, and he hasn't nailed down a place at the back for Man United, and there's been talk of Lindelof actually being loaned out next season, as Mourinho intends to bolster his defence over the summer. Lindelof has impressed in patches, but not enough to gain the trust of the special one, but it could be worse, he could have gotten the Luke Shaw treatment. Next up is Michael Keane. Christ, Burnley must have been laughing all the way to the bank when Everton stumped up £25 million for Michael Keane, who had been impressive for the Clarets on their return to the top flight. However, it was Keane's first real season as a Premier League defender, and it's shown this time out as the England international has really struggled at Goodison Park, and hasn't done his World Cup chances any help. Keane was part of a long list of transfer flops for Everton, while Burnley have got cash in the bank and a flourishing James Tarkowski, meaning the departing Keane was not missed. While Keane started the campaign in the Europa League, it'll be his former Burnley teammates who are great in the competition next time out, proving that the grass isn't always greener. Our third centre-back is Kevin Wimmer. Our first relegated player, Kevin Wimmer, was part of the Stoke side that slipped into the Championship, but in fairness to the Austrian, he's barely been involved as of late, on account of being fat. The defender wasn't that bad as a backup for Spurs, but it was a bit of a head turner when Stoke spent £18 million on Wimmer last summer, and has turned out to be an absolute waste. Not only has he been absolutely useless like a few of his teammates, but he's been branded as unfit by manager Paul Lambert, which is why we haven't seen him in the red and white of Stoke as of late. Would he have helped keep the Potters in the Premier League? No he wouldn't have. Right wing back is Hector Bellerin. From a tubby player to a dirty vegan, AL in Brazil, Hector Bellerin has not hit the heights this season in what was another underwhelming year for the Gunners, with the brightest spark being the announcement of Arsene Wenger's departure. Having been an Arsenal regular for a few years now, and blessed with the pace that an Olympic sprinter wouldn't be ashamed of, it's fair to say that Hector Bellerin has underwhelmed this season, and at no point has it looked like he could be considered one of the best right backs in the Premier League. With an eye for fashion rather than defending, Bellerin is no longer the talk of the town at the Emirates and is more likely to be feeling the wrath of Arsenal fan TV. Centre midfield is Tiémoué Bakayoko. There have been some real wastes of money this season, but Tiémoué Bakayoko has to be the top of the tree, costing £40 million from Monaco, where in fairness, the Frenchman was a star. But he's been unrecognisable in Chelsea blue, mainly because he changes his hair just as much as Paul Pogba does, but without the ability to actually play football. The Chelsea fans haven't disguised their anger at Bakayoko's performances, with one of his worst coming away to Watford. The midfielder was arguably just as bad on the final day of the season at Newcastle, as Antonio Conte sat and pondered just why the club allowed Nemanja Matic to leave. He's alongside Gregor Krychowiak. Another midfielder who arrived from France and another flop, as Gregor Krychowiak's loan move from PSG to West Brom ended in relegation. At the time he looked like a real game-changing signing by Tony Pulis, but he's now played under 4 managers at the Hawthorns, and I'm going to hedge my bets that he isn't keen on a permanent move, as the Baggies prepare for trips to the likes of Wigan and Preston North End next season. Krychowiak was immense at Sevilla a few years back, but you wouldn't think this was the same player. But then again, playing under Alan Pardew can do such things to a man. He's got a World Cup to salvage his reputation, which is probably the only saving grace for the Polish midfielder. At left wing back is Danny Rose. Okay, this one might come across as a bit unfair, as the Yorkshire lad has spent a lot of the season injured and actually only made 10 Premier League appearances under Maurizio Pochettino, but Danny Rose has looked a shadow of his former self in a Spurs shirt, showing exactly why Ben Davies is considered the best left back at Spurs nowadays. Rose was formerly the flavour of the month and probably England's best left back, but now it looks like a summer move is looming, with his Tottenham days very much numbered. The 27-year-old performed well on the final day of the season for Tottenham, but just one solid performance won't save him from this team, not that he's too arsed I imagine anyway. Our front three kicks off with Jermaine Defoe. For context, Jermaine Defoe scored 15 goals in back-to-back seasons for Sunderland, with one season spent fighting relegation and another spent watching the club physically sink into the Championship. But the veteran striker was still able to hit double figures, so it looked like Bournemouth had pulled off a real coup when they signed the former Tottenham striker for absolutely nothing. However, Defoe only managed 4 goals for the Cherries this season, which has to go down as a disappointment considering how well he had done in a clearly worse team in Sunderland. At 35 years old, it's not clear how many years Defoe's got left in him at the top level, and a bleak 4-goal haul on the south coast certainly won't have helped his cause. Next up is KELECHI IHEANACHO. The striker might have scored an absolute banger on the final day against Tottenham, but that doesn't mean we can't just gloss over what has been a pretty underwhelming season for KELECHI IHEANACHO. A £25 million signing from Manchester City, this could have been the Nigerian's breakout year as a real star, rather than being in Sergio Aguero's shadow. However, Iheanacho has just swapped shadows, and he now sits beneath Jamie Vardy, who has been in red hot form for the Foxes this season. As for Iheanacho, he scored 3 Premier League goals all year, not the kind of tally you'd expect from a £25 million signing. I don't think Man City will be exercising their buyback clause anytime soon. And finally, it's Alexis Sanchez. Whether he was at Arsenal or Manchester United, Alexis Sanchez has been absolutely wank this season, and it's got to go down as his worst campaign in English football. A move to Man United did anything but save his season, and if anything he's been worse, looking totally out of form donning the famous number 7 shirt at Old Trafford. Whilst performing poorly, his arrival has also stifled the form of both Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford, who have had to play a withdrawn role while they watch Alexis Sanchez aimlessly wander around the pitch, failing to have the impact he had during his Arsenal glory days. To make matters worse, the Chilean is getting paid even more money than he was at Arsenal, to play alarmingly worse. Fortunately, he's got a full summer to recharge his batteries, as we won't be seeing Alexis Sanchez at the World Cup this summer. So that's our Premier League flops of the season 11. Let us know yours in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.